Tennessee wins its home opener against East Tennessee State 72-17, a school record 72 points. Alongside Patrick Brown, I'm Ryan Callahan with this Vols 24/7 No-Huddle. A lot to talk about today, and at the same time, it's still just a non-conference game against an FCS opponent, but an eventful day. Obviously, Tennessee goes out and scores a bunch of points in the first half, gets Joey Aguilar and a bunch of starters out after halftime, and lets the backups take over. But Patrick, an impressive day. We'll start with on special teams. Boo Carter making a bunch of big plays in the return game after not making much of an impact in last week's opener. He showed this week maybe why you deal with some of the stuff and decide to keep him around after the turmoil at the end of the summer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just a game changer on punt returns with the ball in his hand. He had, I think, 4 returns for 94 yards. One of them, and that includes one that got called back by a penalty, but he broke one for over 30 yards, broke one, almost scored on one.
Yep.
He kind of looked Cordell Patterson-esque in the way he's able to just sort of stop on a dime and kind of make defenders look silly, but that's why Tennessee played the entire first quarter on the ETSU half of the field. They started drives at the 49, the 27, the 5. And so, like Joey Aguilar said after the game, I mean, that's automatic points when you're set up like that for an offense. So he helped Tennessee get off to a really fast start, 24-0 in the first quarter after outscoring Syracuse 17-0 in the first quarter last week. So through 2 games at least, the fast starts have been there for this team.
And there was some big news before kickoff, and even when we got a look at the team during pregame warmups. A couple guys out for this game. David Sanders Jr., the 5-star freshman, again not in the starting lineup today in street clothes. And then Tyree Weathersby did not play on the defensive line. Not ideal, I would say, from Tennessee's perspective that you didn't get Sanders out there to get some experience before next week's season opener against Georgia. But Tennessee, we figured there'd be some guys sitting out this game, so not a huge shock that a couple guys did sit out, and that you had a pretty shorthanded defensive line in some spots.
Yeah, Weathersby was out with along with Jack Samoy and David Hobbs, which you knew about, but I think Weathersby's probably more precautionary. Of course, this week we will have the SEC availability report, so we'll have something of an update starting on Wednesday night for conference game. But with Sanders, Josh Heupel kind of reiterated what he said last week in Atlanta, just felt good about him playing throughout the week, and then ultimately he said the medical staff didn't feel like it would be in Tennessee's best interest or his best interest to play. So that'll be a debate this week is, do you put him out there against Georgia for his first action? And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, so I'm not going to get into it here.
Yeah, especially when the offensive line has looked good so far.
And you got to just see, too, physically where is he at. That's probably the main thing, because he's got to be cleared to play first to play.
No sacks allowed today. Joey Aguilar threw for 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a nice day all in the first half for him. 2 100-yard receivers for the first time in a couple of years. So impressive day for Tennessee's offense overall, which kind of as you would expect against a team like ETSU, but still impressive to see the passing game get some chemistry and gets kind of in a rhythm more so than last week even.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect day on offense. It was pretty good though. He scored 72 points. No one's going to be complaining, but there's a couple drops early in the first quarter. They didn't finish some red zone drives where they had to kick field goals. So Josh Heupel said that there's some things that they got away with too that maybe it'll fly when you're playing an FCS team, but next week against Georgia and that defense that you've not been able to figure out in 4 years, you got to be at the top of your game. So that's what the coaching staff will continue to push, and I think everybody in the program knows what this next week's about. And Heupel said after the game, he said that we know what Georgia's about, we know the kind of team they have in the program, so you got to have your best. And so even when you score 72 points, you got to focus on the things you maybe didn't do well, because those are things you got to clean up going into next week, because you got to play your best game.
Yeah. Max Gilbert made 3 field goals, including a 53-yarder that he banged in off the upright. Free cookies for those of you in the Knoxville area.
He said he was thinking about it too.
I wondered that. And then backups obviously got into the game quite a bit, played most of the second half. Let's talk about the quarterbacks in particular. Jake Merklinger threw a couple touchdown passes. It wasn't pretty at every moment he was out there. He threw his first pass attempt, nearly got picked off and taken to the house, but after that came back and had a nice drive. Even if that one pass was a bit underthrown, could have been a touchdown, was ruled down at the 1. Threw a nice pass that was a touchdown the next play. Another scoring drive after that, and then George McIntyre, the true freshman, had some nice moments too. Didn't throw a touchdown pass, but led Tennessee on a scoring drive.
Yeah, I think those 3 guys had 4 drives between them and 3 touchdowns and a field goal, so pretty good. Merklinger, I thought, he had that scramble after the near pick 6 for the first down, and another one after that. I think those scrambles may have settled him in a little bit. So that was positive for him. And George McIntyre, everyone else kind of saw what I think he showed a lot in preseason camp with some of his talent and his ability to move around and extend plays, and he showed that a lot at Brentwood Academy too. So good job by both those guys. Josh Heupel was pretty pleased with those quarterbacks, and he said it was important to get Merklinger some opportunities because he's your backup. He's 1 play away. So for him to get out there and run the show and run it pretty well with all the backups. I think that's another positive you take away from this game if you're Tennessee. You saw some of the freshman receivers, saw some young guys on the offensive line. The defense played a lot of young guys, so it's important for those guys to get some game experience as you move forward into SEC play.
Freshman running back DeJuan Morris, I thought, had a couple nice runs as well and had a 10-yard touchdown to end that scoring drive that McIntyre led. But 72-17 is the final. Again, a school record in points for Tennessee. So plenty of positives coming out of Tennessee's first 2 games. Now they take a 2-0 record in SEC play right back here next week against Georgia, which had a little bit of trouble today with Austin Peay. So I'm sure that won't do anything to slow the momentum that Tennessee fans are feeling coming off this good start to the season. For Patrick Brown, I'm Ryan Callahan.